that ass to grass split squat, elephant walk, hip flexors, slant board, Jefferson curl, full range pullover, the quadratus lumborum. In the seated good morning, a single-legged back extension, the Powell raise, whatever you want to call it, hip hinging, Romanian deadlift, stiff leg deadlift. I don't care if it's your best friend. This is how you're gonna coach them in the gym. All right, I'm totally joking. Actually, I'm just showing the bench heights here. So we're gonna end up touching on all 10 exercises I love for the back. We're gonna start with the seated good morning as today's example, fully dive into this one, and then cover the other. So notice that by elevating the feet, we can create a bench. Benches were set up for average height males. So now we have a bench set up for her. And notice I put plates here so someone extra tall could elevate the bench itself. Now, she's gonna have her ankles just in front of her knees. So yeah, I'm knees over toes guy. In this case, we wanna be great also with the knees behind the toes. Now working on her posture. So keeping these muscles engaged, nothing to exaggerate, but keeping them engaged. She's gonna lower down into an inner thigh stretch. Now I want you to pause right here, and I want you to look at this angle of the back and the torso. The knees just have to be wide enough for the torso to come down in between. Now we have the exercise that brings the torso and thigh closer than any others, thereby creating the actual most lengthening effect on the glutes. So really the purpose of this is to lengthen the glutes. I want you to round for me. So imagine if you're very stiff in this position. Well then in life, anytime you're trying to bend down, anytime you're lowering to the degree that the glutes are tightened, we end up now with excess strain on the back. So now go ahead and pull that posture and do some reps for me. I've made her do a million of these today, so she's getting a heck of a workout. So the dumbbell keeps the center of gravity close, making it very safe. Also with the dumbbell, if she tired out, she could let go. You just keep going. So with a bar, if you lower down, you could end up with too much weight. But with the dumbbell, you can't get into trouble the same way as a bar. So we do this once a week, Fridays, in the dense strength program. 3 sets of 20 with full recoveries. That finishes off the session. So we wouldn't go from toasting the back like this to then trying to do other work. We actually start with those heel elevated squats. So we toast the legs without the back and then separately toast the back. Then, baby, you've done a wonderful job. Thank you so much. Great form. All right, get out of here. Now, I'm gonna just show you the bar version really quick. So once 3 sets of 20 feels great with 25% of your body weight per hand for males or 20% for females. At that point, I think it's safe to go to the bar. I've got those ankles in front of my knees, just getting my legs wide enough to get my torso down. And I'm trying to think with my back muscles engaged to reach my belly button toward the bench. So I'm getting that belly button all the way down there and driving out. I don't have a weight goal for this one because I don't want you stressing the weight. I don't want you altering the form. It becomes more of a personal thing, I think, at that point. So I said I was gonna touch on all 10. So this is in the dense strength program. Now what would we want to prep before the seated good morning? Well, this is gonna be bring ourselves into a tightened position here. So we use that ass to grass split squat, which regresses by elevating the front foot, assisting and lengthening those hip flexors. So I want lengthened hip flexors before we even get into then a tightening position. And we want that palms to floor, full flexibility here. Why? We're adding up time under tension and we're loosening up behind the knees and in the hamstrings that could prevent us from getting full range here. Plus, we're getting time under tension. I mean, rounded back is a natural part of life. I'm not saying it has to be something that's loaded super heavy. Even when we get into dense strength, slant board, Jefferson curl, we're only going up to 25% of body weight is what I advise. But the point is, if you were to lose posture even a degree here, I would want you still very safe. So it has been found people who can round better have less lower back pain and injuries. It doesn't mean we're forcing into that position. And with that ass to grass split squat, we're also getting really lengthened. So we're not just pulling ourselves into this position or that position. And the opposite of that elephant walk, which you can do. Boom, you can start right there. But so we have all these areas opened up and prepped to then safely improve our seated good morning. So we covered those 3 base ones. I wouldn't want to live without ATG split squat, elephant walk, or L-sit in 0. Then progressing into that slant board Jefferson curl, which really unlocks behind the calves. And now with that Jefferson curl, we're really we're unrolling. So it's more than just an elephant walk. We're slowly unrolling and actually trying to strengthen all those muscles along the spine. So it goes beyond just an elephant walk. And in dense strength, right after that Jefferson curl, we immediately go into a cross bench pullover. So then we're actually working on going the opposite way. That tends to feel really nice. Again, neither of those do I advise loading over 25% of body weight. We're using those to go through these ranges we don't normally get to strengthen and bulletproof those areas. And again, the research shows that the more we open up that thoracic spine, again, the less problems with the lower back. So we've covered 3 preparatory in 0. Now with the seated good morning slant board, Jefferson curl, full range pullover. In dense, we've covered 3 more, and we also get into, well, not every back injury happens right here. Boom, things happen inside, and we have a muscle right here called the quadratus lumborum. So it can be started sideways, but I'm telling you, when you get on one of those back extension machines and do it, it's a whole nother level. So I would often still have tweaks in basketball until I realized that the quadratus lumborum is so important. So I would not want to live without those quadratus lumborum extensions. And you see, by adding these up, now I've just stopped having tweaks, and also my explosion, my athleticism is able to come up with the tweaks falling away. So now we've covered 7. Then going into standards, we add 3 more. We get a single-legged back extension to just work on that extension, but we don't really want to power up the extension if then we can't handle these more elemental, fundamental positions. So it's kind of like we're even rebuilding our back from the ground up and then putting on those finishing touches. And the back extension machine is just really nice because it allows you to lock in and really work one side at a time. So it can be tough to truly take one side at a time to safe failure, where you can really challenge the area. So that single leg back extension is wonderful. We're also now taking some of the preparation of the hamstrings. We're even prepping with things like Nordics once a week in dense. So now we're taking the elephant walk, slant board Jefferson curl, and seated good morning. We're taking all this stuff from dense, and now we're actually getting in and loading a Romanian deadlift. So whatever you want to call it, hip hinging, Romanian deadlift, stiff leg deadlift, I don't care the name. I coach it very simply, which is that we're trying to keep the knee behind the ankle. We're using dumbbells, and then when we get to certain measurables there, we're trying to then load with a bar, and you may have to stand on something in order to express your range. So we're not stopping short, we're just embracing our pain-free range with locked in, not letting ourselves round. So that's really putting it together there with the RDL. And last but not least, the Powell raise, meaning if those scapular retractors, the muscles between the shoulder blades, are weak, we're prone when we get into things like front squats and things like that, we are prone for the shoulders to round, which then can really mess with the back. You see that? So that Powell raise is the finishing one there. So we've touched on all 10, and now I had a couple things I wanted to point out. So there's something called a world's greatest stretch. I don't do this stretch, but the idea is that the back leg is like stretching in the hip flexors, and at the front leg, you're getting down in here for the adductor. So this isn't a stretch I can do, but you see I'm quite good at it, and I'll show you why. So I would almost call this the world's greatest stretch. So if we take that positioning in the seated good morning, but we're getting strong through that positioning. Most people who stay tight, especially stronger guys or athletes, we stay tight because we're weak through the range that we want. And when we get strong through a range, there's an exponential reduction of injury compared to just stretching. And notice the back knee is not going to touch the floor. Notice the front ankle, hamstring covered, the calf there. So this isn't an ATG split squat. So I'm getting the hip flexor lengthening, and I'm getting the adductor and glute opening. So I'm even getting the ankle effects. So if we put this kind of stuff together, we see then that in something like a squat, we have the ankle mobility, we have the adductor and the back mobility. So we can, and we're even protected if we were to get out of position. But my point is, if you put those two together, it kind of equals there. Those two, seated good morning, ATG split squat, equals a squat. with added effects that were in, you know, real life and sport, we're strong through our ranges. So I just laid out all the stuff I do. That's how I keep, you know, the ability to do splits and stuff like that without ever having to worry. I can sprint, I can jump, I can do the splits. And for me in particular, the seated good morning, I'm a short-armed basketball player. So I get mad steals now because, notice, if I'm tight here, I can't use my glutes. So the more we open up that seated good morning, the more we can actually use the glutes. So that's how I got my squat dunk. I never was close to a squat dunk before the seated good morning. And when I'm playing defense, I'm closer. So I'm actually able to get closer and be strong and powerful to shoot out from that position. So for defense and getting steals, I'm measurably closer to the steal. I can explode faster, and I timed thousands of 5-meter laser starts with athletes in the gym. And the outlier exercise, the fastest starters were the best at compared to others. This is just on my testing, you can do your own, was the seated good morning. That was the outlier exercise that correlated to comparatively faster explosion off the line. And then, like I said, from, you know, deeper positions. So for helping people drive up their squats and stuff like that. So there you go. I'm sorry if it wasn't the most coherent video, but I haven't done one like this where I'm trying to, you know, reflect all these 10 areas. So by diving into the exact specifics of the seated good morning, you can see an example of the attention to detail, but then where that fits into zero dense standards. Much love, ATG fam. Have a good one.